Yo, what up, everybody?
What it do?
Welcome to the House of Dragons episode 7 live stream. We're here to talk the House of Dragons. We got a special guest up in here today. First of all, let's go ahead and introduce our special guest. We got Bobbo from Brass Reel Bros.
What it do, guys? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is
Hey.
going to be fun. I'm looking forward.
Hey, pleasure. Pleasure's all ours. Of course, Bobbo has me on for his She-Hulk live streams. We wanted to actually talk about a good show. Bobbo and I go back, and we were like, "Man, we're talking about this shitty-ass show for the last 6 weeks. Let's bring you on so we can talk about a good show." And, of course, joining us, my two co-conspirators, my homeboys for life. We got, on the bottom, we got V-Dub, the Maester.
Wakanda for life.
Maester of economics.
Yeah.
And we got our boy, he's forever Grey Worm. Nothing more, nothing less.
Check this out, people. Hey, look. We got something going on. I want to put the conspiracy on all the chips on the table before the show starts. I also brought him back up because I've been beating him down in these showdowns and for a while. And we saw, if you go to Brass Reels, check out their shows over there. He convinced Bobby to switch his opinion, so he brought backup. This is all a grift to get me down, man. Keep the brother down. So I just had to throw that out there. I
encourage you to watch the first half of She-Hulk that's out, and you'll be like, "Yeah, good." Watch the second half and be like, "Shitty."
No, all I had to do was watch your podcast, and I saw you go from "This is a good show," Anshul, "This show sucks." This show's trash, man. You know what? This show is trash. I saw that
episode to episode.
Yeah, here's the thing, Bobbo. Aaron's conspiracies got conspiracies. Okay, you would never be a bigger conspiracy guy than Aaron, so. You can't have your own opinion. I got to be brainwashing you, or the NFL's got to fix your opinions, or something's got to go down.
They're all true. They're out to
Classic Anshul, though, right?
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, let's get to it, man. This was a good episode, in my opinion. I'm excited to get you guys' opinions on it. I think there's a lot of meat behind this episode. I did a lot of research. I know Aaron did his research on the conspiracies, so we're gonna kind of jump into it. So, opening scene, we start with some heaviness. We start with some mourning. We got Lena's funeral. We jump right into the funeral. So there's a lot to talk about in this episode, but let's kind of just start from the very beginning. We see the funeral going down. Lena's dead, and we jump into the actual ceremony. Any takeaways from any of you, Bobbo? Since you're a guest of honor, we'll let you start out.
Well, at first I couldn't tell that if Damon was, and this is right off the coattails at the end of the last episode, but they're still in that recap of him sort of slightly being shocked when she gets burned up by the dragon, but then is he in shock that he was seeing it happen, or did he truly feel a little bit of a loss? And I feel like a little later on that gets answered. But my takeaway with this is that I feel like I know just as little about Damon now as I did from the very first time I saw him in this season.
That's interesting. Vince, let's jump to you next. What were your thoughts on this opening scene? And we're going to go into some of the more specifics here in a little bit because there's a lot to dig into, but just right from the jump when we jump into that funeral.
I just loved the interaction between the characters. It was good to see Viserys and Damon have their little conversation. Although I was thinking while they were talking it, I was like, you still trying to buddy up to your brother and he took your daughter to the whorehouse? I mean, I understand you here for his for his wife's funeral, but at the same time, I don't know if I could have let that slide that easy, man.
Yeah. E, what about you?
I mean, it was a funeral scene, you know what I'm saying? So it didn't really do anything for me. But it was a good opening to the show. I'll put it like that.
I do have to say that I was curious that they just dropped that body right there off the side. We're just like, we're just going to toss it on the edge and let it sit in the water.
There were other coffins in there, though, so I guess that's their custom.
Yeah, they talk about the. I believe the name of the Sea King is it Merrin, Aaron?
Merlin King.
Merlin King. Yeah, the Merlin King. So that's kind of their custom. Some of the takeaways I got from this, so I did see at one point Renee pulls aside her kids and she's telling them to go help Lena's kids mourn, and now she's the one that's talking to her kids about doing their duty. Or at the beginning of the show, it was her father having to lecture her about doing
a little full circle right there.
Well, didn't the kids say something like they wanted to be in Harrenhal or something?
Yeah.
Was that later on? That was at that scene, right? Yeah, that was at that scene, right? Yeah.
No, that's a good catch. The oldest kid he's up on game. He's like, Mom, you know damn well that dude that died is my dad. I'm not happy my dad died. I gotta be here. I can't be at my dad's funeral. This is some bullshit, right? And he's pissed. The youngest kids, they're still in denial, but they're young too, so they maybe just don't even know. We're gonna find out more later. At the beginning, it seems like Alicent is a little bit guilty because she knows what happened. She knows what happened to Harrenhal. And so she's got conflicting emotions because she's sitting there watching this funeral, but her mind is clearly elsewhere. And she go on.
Well, she sort of played both sides the whole time, right? Including like she was one class of a person. All of a sudden now she's queen. And then she's also hiding just as much secrets in the beginning. And she's hiding Sir Christian and his secrets the same way that the father, the king, is being in denial about the kids being bastard children. And it's just like for her to be so judgy and to start battling and wearing her green and everything. It's just like, well, bitch, you were doing the same thing with your stuff,
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. That's a good point.
But clearly they're after the throne.
It's the
hypocrisy. You got a Targaryen Stark hat, by the way.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, good look. I just noticed that. But sorry, go ahead, Ansel. It just caught me off guard. I was like,
no, I told him it's like it would be even more.
It is a Lannister. What else is on there? Show the whole groom. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah, you got the whole. I was about to say between that Stark and Targaryen, there needs to be a life in between there to symbolize Jon Snow stabbing your girl Daenerys in your favorite episode.
We don't talk about this. We don't talk about that, man. We don't talk about that punk. You know what I'm saying?
No, I was about to say, man, it's the hypocrisy of righteousness. That's what we see with Alicent, right? Like she's holier than thou, and in her mind, Rhaenyra is not living up to her duty, and that gives her this position of righteousness to where she thinks, hey, listen, I'm just trying to teach you a lesson. I'm trying to get you up on game and do what you're supposed to do. But then in doing so, she herself is doing wrong, but she's too blind to see that.
Now,
she can only see her point of view.
Does she care about Aegon? And I can't ever remember the other kid's name who lost his eye.
Aemon.
Yeah. Does she care about them, or is she just really more concerned about like the getting to the throne? Because she doesn't seem to really.
I don't know, man.
They're painting a picture of Rhaenyra like she's a good mother and has love for her children. They're not painting that picture with Alicent.
Well,
for me later on in the episode, they painted a very clear picture.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mama Bear came out.
Yeah, she was getting crazy, but I saw her being more pissed at her other son, and I don't know. I'm just trying to feel like I don't see the motherly, the anger side for sure, but not the nurturing side.
Well, there's only one of us on this pod that has legitimate children, and that's Vince. So maybe he can fill us in on and see if he knows what's up.
Hey, she's a terrible parent, bro. I mean, you look at the oldest son is a borderline alcoholic. I mean, he's drinking all the wine at the wedding. We saw him last. He rubbing one out over the courtyard, 50 feet up. So no, she's a terrible parent. And you look at the kids. I mean, you got borderline Joffreys running around here.
Yeah.
Dude, as soon as I saw them, I was like, this is like some Joffreys for sure.
Yeah.
Here's a little exercise for next time, because we know in Game of Thrones universe, if you have a bastard, depending on your kingdom, that's what the bastard's last name is going to be, a la Snow, a la Sand. So next episode, let's figure out what our bastard's kid's name would be, last name would be. Just a little exercise for some fun. Yo.
I mean, I have no clue where even.
Yeah, Aaron's would be chief. Well, we already know Aaron's would be chief.
Also dropping some clues right now. You must have found out paternity tests came in soon recently.
Hey, 23andMe is a nightmare. I'm just telling you, man. 23andMe is not a good time for your homeboy, right?
Yeah,
here, right?
People think it's going to be a fun ride, and all of a sudden their life gets.
It'd be sweating after 23andMe came out. All right, so we also got some takeaways from here. Kristen the Cuck wants to know what Littlefoot is looking at. She says she tries to play it off. She's like, he just happy to be the Lord of Harrenhal, which led me a question. We and Littlefoot talks about this last episode, the curse of Harrenhal. After he basically murders his dad, he's like, it's just the curse of Harrenhal. Rearing its ugly head. Everybody that inherits Harrenhal dies a mysterious death. But now that she claims that he's the king of Harrenhal, is that some foreshadowing? Are we going to see something happen to him? Maybe, right? We don't know, but it's a possibility. So file that away. Laena's daughter, so Rhaenyra's son. Now, which son was this? I don't have her son's names down, but one of them goes and tries.
Jaehaerys is the older one.
Okay, so it's Jaehaerys goes and tries to comfort Laena's daughter, but Laena's daughter.
They heard hands for a second.
Yeah, Laena's daughter is the one that reaches out to hold his hand, almost comfort him. Once again, showing that secret is the worst kept secret in all. Even the kids know.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's-
With
that
that
they-
being said, don't you feel like that this episode, compared to the prior episodes of this whole season, that this episode felt a little bit more like season 8 of Game of Thrones as far as the pace? Like they jumped, and a lot of things just that were really significant happened, like the marriage after the death, and then them just all these different things. I just felt like it was a little rushed.
Well, here's the thing, though. And Charlie from Emergency Awesome, everybody knows Charlie. He's got a lot of subscribers, great YouTuber. He pointed this out, or maybe it was actually another YouTuber, which I need to credit, which I'll have to credit later. This is the only episode in House of Dragons that takes place in the same exact place as the prior episode for the entire episode.
Sure.
This entire episode takes place on Driftmark.
Driftwood.
Right. Was it Driftwood or Driftmark?
I can't remember.
Yeah,
There's so many different names.
I think it's Driftmark, but yeah, this is the only episode that takes place all in one place, and it's the only episode that takes place without a time jump from the prior episode. So
Maybe
it's interesting you feel that way because this is the only episode where we had what happened the day after.
But no,
in this entire series.
But no, like the marriage and everything and all that didn't happen the same time of them deciding and then him riding the dragon. That all didn't just happen in one moment, did it?
Well, and so the funeral takes place the next day after she dies, or like shortly after she dies.
Well,
Right, maybe
they
a
had to
couple days.
travel there, though. They had to travel by sea there. So it's been a little bit of time, I believe.
Well, okay.
And of course, like I said, she just had a baby too, right?
Yeah.
So
But
you got to have a
this is-
couple of days to get past that.
This is not a time skip of anything more than maybe a week or two,
Right,
As
right,
opposed
right.
to several years that we had in the past. All right. So
I guess I'm just saying that I felt like it was just moving too fast with certain significant story. I felt like that they could have gone with it a little further. Like they could have drawn these certain elements out to make that when it happens seem a little bit more significant to the show. Rather, it's like, okay, well now this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen all in the show.
Well,
And
you know-
that's just me. I mean, it is written for TV from the books. This isn't just taken directly from the books.
Well, Ecclesi brought up a great point for the show prior, and so I think I'm going to let you expand upon this. This is the first time where we see a lot more subtext in the show. So what we mean by that, in prior episodes, unlike Game of Thrones, which throws out subtext and wants you to get all the little clues in order to pick up what's going on, and then it pays it off way down the road, this show, they'll give you a little subtext and they'll pay it off like 30 seconds later. Like they'll give you a little subtext and they'll say, 30 seconds later, they'll have some dialogue say, okay, just in case you didn't catch that, this is exactly what we meant. For example, when Rhaenys and Rhaenyra, when we first see them meet, the whole subtext is thrown out that is she going to be treated like Rhaenys was when she had her claim to the throne? And then they have the face-to-face to them to where Rhaenys pretty much says to her face, hey, this is what's going to happen to you. And that's kind of like letting it known to the viewers, like, hey, just in case you didn't catch the subtext, this is what we mean.
Right.
So in this episode, we get a lot more of the subtext. So, Cleese, since you caught that the first time, I want to know if you felt that way or if you felt like, once again, they were kind of spelling it out for you and how it's going to go.
I mean, they spelled it out for you, but like, I thought we would push it back a little bit, but like, essentially what's happening with this show is they don't want it to be a show to where we grow with the characters, get attached to specific characters. They're doing another time jump. They're doing another time jump with the kids. So what they're trying to do is just get all the basics elements out the way real fast, and then they're going to slow down for the whole war, because the war is what, like 2 or 3 years? It's not long, but there's so many different things that happen. So every episode is going to be like an event, essentially what it comes down to. So they're just getting it out the way, and they don't want us to. They don't want to draw it out because
Just a long exposition, basically.
Yeah, and they missed the mark. And another big thing, and the biggest thing, and Luis, L.A., he said this the first time. They don't have writers who can write good dialogue. Period. They have writers that can write, great dialogue. They have writers that can write good dialogue, but they can't bring that same type of flair that George R. R. Martin can bring. And I think it's overtly apparent. So, like I told you, they're doing a lot. They're doing more storytelling with visuals and metaphors than they are with actual dialogue.
Right.
And that's why it just. I get what you're saying, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more at the end of the show too, as well.
Well, yeah, there's one thing
Exactly.
I want to pick both your brains about, because for the first time, we got two creatives on here. We got two people that are directors, right, on here. This episode brought a lot of interesting visuals, especially with how dark it was.
Yeah, people
A
hate it.
lot of scenes taking place at nighttime. So the visual cues, V and I probably aren't as good as picking up some of these visual filmmaking cues as you two are. So I want to pick your brain and see if there was anything that you saw that were director choices in this video that spoke to you in a certain way that made you think a certain type of thing?
Yeah, I'll tell you mine. Miguel Spotnik, who directed The Long Night, said, "The hell with all these, the hell with the audience. I'm gonna go super dark again and adjust your TV." That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? But besides that, I don't think that as far as like the lighting and things of that nature, I don't think. Well, I guess you could now that you bring it. I didn't think about it when I watched it, but now that I think about it, I think you're right. I think he was, forebode saying that there was a darkness to come and a darkness over all the families there when you kind of look at it like that. I didn't even think about that, but that's a good catch.
But it was super cloudy the whole time, and the whole thing with seeing the like dragon shadow above the clouds flying away for a second. Like it definitely had a darkness in tone. They were trying to convey that for sure because it was a lot of darkness going on, and like now that you say that about them sort of like setting the tone with like all the families and showing you all these things, and because they're going to do a time jump. I think setting the darkness on this was necessary because of all the dark things that happened.
Yeah. Vince, what do you think about that from your non-arturic eye?
Well, I can tell you what was absolutely beautiful.
You gotta let him talk to you like that, dog? You gotta let him call you non-arturic?
I said he's not a doctor.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Funny.
One of the things that I absolutely love about this show in general is the presentation of the dragons. And I think phenomenal. when we saw the dragon in this episode, and is it Aegon that was riding the dragon? Aemon was riding the dragon. I mean, that beast is beautiful. And when you watch him in all his glory in those scenes, I thought it kind of took your breath away. It just shows you how far they've come.
Oh, especially since even though it looked good for its time in Game of Thrones, but it definitely watching it again, you can see sort of like, oh, there's a CG HBO dragon. Doesn't look that way this time around. It looks excellent. I think it all visually looks spectacular. The darkness wasn't me saying that I couldn't see it on the TV screen like Alien versus Predator 2. This was like actually just it had a dark tone to it. Visually.
The thing,
gray.
The darkness, Charlie Murphy. Yeah, I got you.
Since you brought the dragon up, I do want to say this about him riding the dragon. Little things like this kind of bug me, and this is part of what's bugging me about the MCU as a whole. Is they're just like oh yeah, and this is how it is now. Natalie Portman can grab Mjolnir. Okay, here you go. It's just this one. Could he have really, after it was assigned to the wife, Damon's wife? I can't remember her name. Lena.
Yeah.
After it was assigned to her, is he able to just
and
jump on there like that?
So yeah, because it's one of the original dragons that came over with the original conquer. So when they first conquered Westeros, that's one of the 3 dragons that was there. So it's the oldest dragon around. So it's had several riders.
Yeah, Balon also had several riders, including Viserys.
Right, but I'm saying
I
felt like, I don't know, he just walked up to it and been like, "Hey, you're mine now." And is that is that good enough?
What are the estate laws
if the dragon accepts him, yeah.
Yeah, what are the estate laws in Westeros? Can I just claim property as I see it?
Well, that brings us to an excellent question, because they do a lot of duality in this show, and because it's a truncated show, it comes really quick. And so Aemon in particular, we see that because there's a scene in the funeral where Aemon looks at Jaehaerys, and it's a rare show of sympathy because he knows, listen, man, your dad's dead. We all know it's your dad. And I want to say something to you, but I don't know what to say. And so they just kind of look at each other for a second, and then look away and walk away. And then the next time we see them, not to get too ahead of ourselves, that sympathy's all gone. And so we see those two sides of Aemon. But like you said, because the show's truncated, we don't get any room to breathe in between seeing those two sides. We see one side 1 second, and the other side the next second. It's bam, back to back. So what do you guys think of the scene between him and Jaehaerys?
This is an action show disguised as a drama. This is an action series disguised as a drama. This is the drama we're seeing now, and then the action is going to come kick in, and it's going to go.
Sure, action in the beginning of the season, action at the end, but in the middle right now we're in the heat of the drama.
Yeah, I got you. Immediately after that, we get to see some more of Aegon. Aegon's such an F up dog. Aegon's half the kids I went to school with, man. Aegon's half the kids I went to school with, just getting drunk and acting a fool.
Well, at first they made you think, okay, well, let me ask y'all this, and you guys, I haven't read the books. I had friends that sort of gave me semi play-by-plays of the series that Game of Thrones was based off of, but not any of the Fire and Blood and all that. Is Aemon the Mad King?
No.
This is
these are
way before that.
This is way too early,
Yeah.
right?
Way before that, yeah.
172 years before Daenerys Targaryen. That's what it said in the text. Just to kind of
Right.
give you-
So the Mad King, how long before?
That's Daenerys' dad.
Yeah.
The Mad King is Daenerys' dad.
Yeah. So the
So-
you know.
And another question too, and I asked him this too: do they just live as long as we live?
Yeah,
Do they
think
live
so, yeah.
longer or shorter?
I mean,
Okay.
depends
Well,
on what
Viserys
happens.
won't.
Like, if they get grayscale or they get leprosy, then obviously no.
But I'm talking about like
Yeah,
in the
live
Bible,
longer.
it says they live 300 years. You
yeah,
know,
but this is
like
medieval
that.
times, man.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
This is essentially fantasy land.
I'm asking because I don't know.
Man, this ain't Lord of the Rings, dog. You ain't gonna have hobbits living for 500 years or whoever.
It's-
you know?
but it's similar.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, man.
I'm
It's-
just asking.
It's medieval.
It's a valid
fantasy,
question.
but it's all right. I'm gonna give it to it's all right. I don't know. You're a guest, so I'm gonna say it's valid.
Oh, you.
All right. So we got Helena, prophecy number 2. So she did have a prophecy prior to this, and it's gonna get paid off at the end of this episode. But she makes another prophecy in this where she mentions the Greens versus the Blacks, and so that's a slight spoiler. We might be able to get into that. It's not a major spoiler. I think it's kind of already been. It's already been said a little, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Also, we see a spider crawling up her hand. Charlie from A Mercy Awesome thinks that is to symbolize Littlefoot, because apparently his sigil is a spider. So, any takeaways from a prophecy? Did you guys catch that? What did you think about it?
I didn't really. I mean, to be honest, I didn't catch a whole lot from that, but there was a lot going on in this episode.
Aaron, you're our Easter egg guy. Any thoughts from you on that?
I mean, everyone just like they made her. What they said, they basically made her character because none of this is in the books. Is there's another character named Daenerys that predicted the doom of Valyria, and she's basically like a reincarnation of her. So there's 3 dreamers within the Targaryens. It's her. There's Aegon the Conqueror, and then there's Daenerys Targaryen, the one that we know. And they said that they basically are using her, like I said, because they have to kind of build in a story because they can't write the dialogue. So they're basically using her to foreshadow all the events that are going to happen, to kind of set the tone.
Nobody listens to her, which is the hilarious part. Everybody just thinks she's crazy. V, did you catch that prophecy?
I didn't catch the prophecy, but all kudos to Aegon for realizing this is not a chick I want to marry.
Yeah, for sure.
When you see her playing with spiders, bro, this the best we can do.
Yeah.
So there
I
is
want to be king. This is gonna be my queen. What? No, I don't think so, man.
So
I need y'all to do a do-over.
there's a little foreshadowing they make. He makes a comment there. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but there's definitely when he talks about what he likes in a girl, there's a little foreshadowing that goes on there. So,
Well, you can foreshadow because I mean the episodes aren't out.
well, he mentioned something about liking legs, and let's just say that may
Yeah.
play into to his story later. So,
Are
we
you
just-
talking about like something that you don't
Happens,
that
yeah.
happens in the books for sure?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. I
Okay.
thought you were theorizing. My
No,
fault.
it's
My
no,
fault.
it's something that happens for sure, right? Something that we know happens for sure. So,
Gotcha.
Rhaenyra and Lena's children get along, which may foreshadow that their houses are going to be united. And then, of course, we hear...
Well, again, with their holding hands, you know.
Yeah, exactly. We hear the cry of the dragon as Lena's dragon mourns her death. Corlys is not happy with how his son's mourning the death, though. Clearly, Corlys wants to see him step up and be more of a man, which, well, I mean, the dude's a warrior. Let him mourn his own way, but Corlys clearly ain't having it, and he's not happy.
Well, you think
what's
that
going
was
on.
because he's worried that people are going to start questioning, his lifestyle?
I don't know how, though, with that. I mean, I guess that's what they were trying to go with.
That's what I'm saying. Is that what they were
Yeah.
trying to convey with the dad
I
getting
don't know.
all pissed?
I'll let you guys talk about that because this is when we start. I mean, up until this point, it's just a normal funeral episode, but this is when the cracks and some of the tensions start coming up, and they blow up later. But this is where we start seeing some of those tensions start to boil up. So, any thoughts on Corlys and Laenor, and anything else that happened after that?
No, I mean, I'd just say that I can't believe that I wasn't seeing his death come,
Yeah. What about you guys?
at
E?
all.
No.
Okay.
No,
V?
Well, you know me. I think Corlys's legacy is shit. I hate to see his daughter die, but his legacy is done, bro. I mean, it's
V
really
always
sad.
gotta be hating on the brothers, man.
It's sad, but at the same time, he knows the truth, and I think we haven't gotten to it yet, but one of the best lines of the show, Corliss gets to state. Yeah, you guys probably know already where I'm going with that, which is the history does not remember blood.
We were gonna get to
it
that.
remembers names. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Way to spoil our own episode, Vince. We can get to that. We can build up to it nicely, add a whole build into it, but you just all right, whatever, man. We'll move on.
Dude, but
we'll get that later. Good. We'll talk about that a little bit later. That was definitely a good line. So another guest star we had on here on our first pod about the show pointed out that, you know what, and Aaron touched on this. Game of Thrones had those bar lines. Chaos is a ladder. You know, just name them. You can just drop. They wrote
that line though.
You talked about that, right? Yeah, one of the few things we can give credit for.
Write that.
Yeah. But there's so many just awesome lines, and we hadn't had that in this show. I thought until this episode. I specifically wrote that down because that was one of the bar lines that came from the show.
What about no matter how fat the leech, he's always up?
We're going to talk about that, right? Because Otto makes his return. Otto was back, baby. Otto's back in the saddle again. He got the hand.
The lizard.
On. Yeah, he's got the hand pendant back on. He's got his hair slicked back. He got Pat Riley going like Cleasy talked about. You know, when he got fired, he let his hair go a little bit. But now he's styling, profiling again, just like Ric Flair. He's back.
Got a swag back.
Yo, how are you going to jump right back to him? Like, you fired this dude?
That's what I was saying. And now they just go down to his pen. They have a lack of applicants. Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's what it sounds like. That's Game of Thrones season 8.
I mean, she pretty much explained it last episode. She wanted her dad back. You know what I'm saying? That's why old boy did what he did. That's why she wanted him, the Strong dad, Lord Strong, to leave, so she can get her dad back. That was the whole conversation. Think she put the Laris? That's why that was all up.
She put the wifey press on him. She's like, hey.
Yeah, she knew she could get it done.
Well, they are showing that the king is starting to become sort of passive with certain things. Like he's still okay with his wife trying to kill his daughter's son, his grandchild. You know what I mean?
Like, but she's also
like, this is over. Okay, this is done.
But Aemon's also his son, right?
What I'm saying is but he's just letting it go. That he's not getting super, because at the end of the day, all those other ones are his blood, but the only one that's not his blood is Alicent.
Yeah. We'll get into that part in a little bit because there's a lot of interesting things going on with that part. And, of course, his health is failing as we see it. Very transparent. And I think if we watch a preview of the next episode, this will probably be the last episode we see him in. So
I didn't think that he was going to be alive after he got sick the first time. You know what I mean?
He lasted a lot longer than I originally thought he was going to last.
Yeah.
I had the over and under at four episodes, and we're in episode 7. This dude's still around, and I mean, he looks like death already.
Seriously, man. Like
he tells from the crypt, bro.
For real. Life can be cruel. He said, looks like it's been especially cruel to you, brother.
Damon doesn't give a shit. He just says it to him.
Yo, to hammer home that point, when he's leaving, when he's going to bed, he calls his wife by his ex-wife's name. Now, Vince, you can probably relate. That's a bad mistake you don't want to make.
Oh, man, that's about the worst thing you can do.
Wait a minute. So you mean when he left the fight?
So he leaves a funeral. And people are starting. We got a lot of other stuff that goes on there. We get Aegon being drunk and Otto having to pick him up and get your ass upstairs and get to bed. We got some other stuff going on. We got Rhaenyra and Daemon reconnecting and going for a walk. But one of the things that a lot of people picked up on is when Viserys decides he's going to leave, he tells Alicent that he's going to bed, but he calls her by his ex-wife's name, his dead wife's name.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
I missed that. I did. I actually caught it because I was like, that's not her name. Wait a minute. What just happened here? But I think they're just trying to show that not only is his body failing, his mind is failing a little bit too.
Yeah. Also, that is so in the books, Alicent is introduced in a much different manner. E has talked about this. She's older, and her relationship actually goes back with Jaehaerys. She was watching Jaehaerys while his health was failing, and a lot of people say in the books that that's when she originally seduced Viserys.
Well, no, she talked about that they talked about that in the show, how she helped his dad too when he passed away.
But what they don't talk about the show is Jaehaerys would often confuse Alicent for his wife and his deathbed. So I think that's kind of a hat tip to that storyline. So of course we get we get foreshadowing with Aemon and the dragon. Of course that foreshadowing gets paid off really, really quickly. once again, to your point, Bobo, and to something Cleesy's talked about, they pay things off quick. They give you the cheese and they give you that trap right away. They don't wait, right? We see some cracks with Corliss and Rhaenys. So they've always been shown as having a pretty good relationship. But in this episode, Rhaenys rebukes Corliss a little bit about leaving Driftwood for Lannis's daughters instead of leaving it to Jaehaerys. Or it's one of Rhaenyra's kids that he's leaving it to. And she's like, listen, they're not our grandkids. Let's be real. Let's keep it a buck. Okay, we know what's up. There's nobody else here but us. We know these grandkids aren't related to us. Driftwood needs to stay in the family. We need to give it to Lannis's kids. And he basically argues with her, and she calls him out and says, listen, the only reason you're arguing this is because you're greedy for the throne. You always have been. You talk about me not getting my rightful due as being the queen who never was, and I shouldn't have been the queen. But are you really mad that I didn't get the crown, or are you mad that you didn't get the crown? And prior to this, we've seen the relationship as being pretty solid, but this is the first time we see some cracks in it. What were y'all's takeaway from that scene? Aaron, we'll start with you.
I don't think that they're necessarily cracks. I just think that they're both mourning. They're both in distraught. He brings it up to her first when she was talking about, we should have used our maesters. He's like, oh, these maesters here are just as good as those maesters. And I just think that they just had an argument just because they're under a lot of stress right now. So I still think they're pretty solid. She had some good points. She brought up things like, hey, like Vince's line came up and everything like that. But I still think that they're ride or die for each other. And I think that I think what's happening is that he's living in the moment. And she's living 3 steps ahead. She's playing chess right now. She sees where this is all going.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion.
That's a great point. That's an excellent point. V, you want to talk about the line, so we'll toss it to you next, and we'll go to Bobo.
Well, the whole scene when they're talking, my take on that was she's wearing the pants in this relationship. I might not have the crown, but I definitely got the pants. So you need to kick rocks when what you're talking about. But then he also brings back a point, and to reference the line that we talked about history not remembering blood. He's absolutely correct in everything that he's saying to her, and it kind of pushes towards she's being more emotional, he's being more pragmatic. Let's really put cards on the table. If you're putting these cards on the table, let me tell you what the real cards are. And the real cards are, it doesn't matter about the blood. It matters about the name. That's what they're going to write down in books. That's my legacy.
History does not remember blood. It remembers names. That's the exact quote.
She said that she wears the pants relationship. I didn't get that at all, man. I think he runs that. I think she was just acting up. Like he told her, he was like, look, you're mourning.
Hold up. You know what this means? This means we got a Shogun showdown, and then we'll get kicked to Bobo afterwards. So Bobo, let's give it a second. Let's let these samurai show down a little bit. You just got challenged. Draw your sword.
All right, let's go, man. Let's go.
I think it was blatantly said that they established very early in the scene that she wasn't thinking right. Like she was just like, we should have did this, we should do this, we should do that. She was just acting very emotional. He was like, hey, look, we're both in mourning. We have stuff going on right now. She didn't like how Daemon was acting. She just was mad at the world. She was in the mind where she just wanted to burn the world down and wanted to control everything. And he's letting her know, like, hey, get out of your little box. The world doesn't revolve around you. This is how things need to be. So I don't think the only thing I was arguing is I don't think that she has the pants relationship. If anything, I think he established that he runs things and he just let her vent a little bit.
All right, let me counter that. Allow me to retort. No, she definitely wears the pants. She pretty much told him, hey, shut the fuck up and pay attention. I don't feel like dealing with you right now. I need you to go sit over there and time out. Everybody knows what you really about. You trying to play Game of Thrones. I'm trying to mourn my fucking daughter. Leave me the hell alone. And that's what she did to him. And she broke him down.
No, she broke him down. So you think at the end of that argument, she won that argument because nothing changed. Everything that he said and everything that he wanted still stood. It's concrete.
No, I said he was right. I said what he was saying was right, but it didn't stop her from lashing out. Do you not feel as though she lashed out at him?
No. I definitely think she lashed out at him. I definitely think he let her vent, but I definitely think she
pretty much told that dude.
You can cry all you want.
She pretty much told that dude, I'm the closest thing to the crown you gonna ever get.
And guess what? He told her? So what? We still doing things my way.
All right.
Doing things his way.
All right.
Champion!
Bobo, I want to get your thoughts. Shogunette Singh is about to rule on this matter, but I want to get your thoughts, Bobo, before I get my ruling, because maybe you might help flip my decision as my confidant here.
I think that the whole time first, she says, you're just worried about, like, were you really worried about me getting closer to the crown? Are you getting closer to the crown? And then when he looks at her, that first look showed me that, how could you say that to me? And then when he sits down and says, it's not about blood, it's about names, and he stands there and he takes his hand away from her, I think that was just like more of him actually really caring about her and him believing what he's doing is the right thing for her and the family. And so because her acting the way she's acting and kind of being accusatory, I feel like that he was actually hurt by that. And so then finally he was like, you know what? You really think that? And so because he was hurt, his pain turned him to a little bit of anger, and he just basically let that stand up and being like, no, it's about names. Peace out. That's why.
Here's the thing. I'm going to say that this is the rare instance of we might have a Shogun Showdown draw, because I think both of you are right.
Dude, get out of here. No,
man. The Shogun has made his ruling, dog. The Shogun has made his ruling.
You brought Bobby in here to cheat me, too. I'm sick of this, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got to start doing things right, man.
Yo, right now, Aaron, you'll get your first win someday, somehow, some way, but ain't right now. Ain't right now, baby.
I didn't realize you
Keep searching, E. Keep searching, E.
I'm undefeated.
He put the 0. He put the O and 0. You know what I'm saying?
I'm undefeated.
But no, you're right from the standpoint of Aaron that she is being a little emotional. But I think Vince is right in that they both are just coming from different perspectives. Her emotion is like, listen, I've made peace with not winning the crown. I'm about this family. I'm about this family. And where he's coming from is he's like, you don't understand. Legacy is what's going to help this family in the long run. So we need to be worried about legacy. Now, at the end, the way they leave it, we don't really know which way they're going to go, right?
They're obviously going.
I will say that it's obviously they do have the best relationship we've seen in a while in Game of Thrones, because when she originally rebukes him, you can tell he's stunned and taken aback, and he does consider what she has to say. He does value her opinion, and he doesn't. While he says, "Hey, this is the way I see it," he doesn't put his foot down and say, "Woman, you're going to do what I tell you," because he does respect her, right? But right now they're not on the same side of the fence, and that's just is what it is. So we'll see what happens from here, and we'll see where exactly they go with it. Okay. So of course we also get Daemon and Rhaenyra on the beach with a little bow chicka bow bow.
Incest is best.
Yeah, Bobo had some hot sports opinions he wanted to talk about this scene. This scene got him hot and bothered. We got actually it's not even cousin sex. It's
I'm from Louisiana.
Uncle,
okay?
Uncle and aunt.
Uncle Leith.
Which is that's like getting 4 aces in the poker game. That's the cream of the crop incest is the uncle and the niece. It doesn't get any more.
Is that the top search on Pornhub?
That's the creepiest incest out there. And I just think it's funny how there was no dark, ominous overtone, slow, sensual music. It was like they want you to feel the love that these two have for each other. And that's the type of music that was going on top of it. So when it was in regular Game of Thrones fashion, they show a sex scene. And it wasn't, not a lot of nudity or anything, or maybe no nudity, but it still was implying a lot. And I just think it's funny that they're not using this to like paint, look how jacked up this is. It was almost like, look, these two really do love each other. Aunt and uncle.
They made it sensual. He's all undressed.
They made it a tender moment.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Funny to me.
Well, I mean, it's a fantasy show where the aunt and uncle, they drive, nephew, niece and uncle fly around on dragons. So
that's another thing. Does retardation happen because of incest?
It does, right? They talk about the insanity of the Targaryens is tied to their incest, right? So it's not that fantasized to where there are clearly repercussions from smashing your.
There's only like 3 or 4 mad Targaryens, though, right?
How many do you need?
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's been a lot of mad
I'm just trying to say, is that okay with your quota?
And you know what I'm saying? Like all sorts of stuff. And they fly dragons, dog. Like power brings evil. Like you can drop dragons off in the world that are right now, and then and they can rule for like 300 years. We're a family that is going to have at least 3 or 4 super cruel, super out of control people, because power is power.
Well, remember, he draws a lot from English history in this. The English monarchy did have a lot of incest, and there was a lot of insanity and issues because of that incest. And so I think he's just making reference to that, and he tied it into the story. But they do romanticize it a little in this episode. They normally it's played. I guess the closest they did to that would be with Jon and Daenerys, right? When we found out that they were actually siblings,
right?
But they were still the hot couple that everyone wanted to get together.
And they decided, let's just do this. You know
what?
They're
like,
it's gross and it's a little icky, but let's do it.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's naughty. I like it, right? That's what they wanted you to think. So now we do get takeaway we do get from this is that Rhaenyra says, look, it's not like I didn't try with Laenor. He just wasn't into it. Wonder why. And so they couldn't have kids. What did you guys take with that takeaway? That they actually tried to have kids, but it just didn't happen because, Avi, one's not into girls.
Well, I didn't know if it was saying that he actually couldn't even get it up with her, or the fact that because she couldn't actually get anything going, that never could actually, the impregnation could never happen,
B, what did you take away from that?
That Laenor has failed her miserably as a husband, and he kind of owns up to it. But at the same time,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, at the same time, it's a failed marriage, man.
Yeah. E, any takeaways from you on that scene?
I mean, I think they clarified later on, exactly what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like he admits to it later on.
Yeah, I think it was interesting that they made sure to kind of throw it out there, because I think it was always, we didn't know, and I don't know if we really needed to know, but they throw it out there, and then we find out later why they want you to have that context. But I definitely made note of that. Yeah, they're definitely making a point to let you know that this wasn't a fact that they just got together just for shits and giggles, and they never had any plans to try to be a real married couple. They did want to have, or at least try to do their duty and have kids with each other. It just couldn't happen because obviously they don't both play for the same team.
I didn't see any foreshadowing in that scene though, because she's like, "You are a good man. You have a good heart."
They have that scene later, right? This is originally when she's talking to Damon about it.
Oh,
like, hey, listen, we did try, and then it just he liked dudes. What are you gonna say? Also we do get Damon saying that he pretty much hinting that he already knows Alicent is probably behind the tragedy at Harrenhal. I wish I could remember the exact line that he threw out there, but he said something to the effect that he kind of accused her, and she kind of stops for a second. She's like, "Wait, what are you trying to say?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." And he just kind of keeps walking. But he kind of throws it out there like, "Hey, yeah, Alicent probably ain't as innocent as she wants everybody to believe, and don't be surprised if she had something to do with that Harrenhal incident," which is interesting, right? Damon's up on game because Damon's shady. He doesn't trust anybody. He's like Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the Attitude Era. DTA don't trust anyone. So
You don't think he even trusts Rhaenyra?
Well, he does. Yeah, that's the one blind spot he has, right?
I mean, I think he trusts his brother too. I think he trusts his family. That's his whole point. Is we need to stick together as a family. That's his whole from the first episode on. He's like, we can't trust these other people. He knows who Alicent's father is. So that's
interesting you say that because remember earlier in the episode, we didn't really touch on this, but during the funeral, Viserys tries to make peace with him, but he's so prideful that even now he's like, I don't need your help.
Yeah,
because he banished him for 10, 15
years.
And took his he was heir to the throne and took it from him and all this other stuff. I mean, that's a little bit different. That has nothing to do with trust. That doesn't mean he doesn't trust his brother.
But I think the way Matt Smith played it is you could see the struggle in him. Like part of him wanted to be like, yeah, you're right, let's let it go. But his pride kicked in. He couldn't.
I think he's a grudge holder for sure.
Yeah,
I think he can let it go.
I think part of him is like would love to, but the other part of him is like, no, we got to hold on this grudge because that's what drives us. So at least that's the way I took it. She does also make it a point to tell him, listen, I'm no longer a child. But of course, that leads to our incest scene, our hot incest scene. And then, of course, we come up to where the crescendo happens in this episode. It's courting of a different nature. Somebody decides to go out and dragon jack. He can hijack himself a dragon.
Again, right? I just think it's kind of funny how he just walks up and being like, hey, check this out. You rolling with me now. All right.
Well, first of all, he Silent Hills it. Like, he drops down on the hills. He spies out the dragon. He slowly walks up to the dragon. Like, you're going to sneak up on a dragon, fam. Are you serious? You know?
Well, and, I mean, but to what Vince was saying, though, the dragon looked fantastic.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go with takeaways on this scene. V, since we started with you, we'll let you talk about this scene up top.
Well, when the dragon, when he first walks up on the dragon, did you guys get the sense that the dragon was saying, "Who are you, little punk? You little kid?
Oh, for sure.
like,
You think you gonna ride me?
Yeah.
I don't think you in the same weight class, so you need to back on up a little bit." So see,
And then he just turns around and ignores him and like, yeah, just go home.
yeah, and then he starts to bring the little fire, and then he changes his mind. But it just gave me the sense that the dragon didn't respect him. But in the end, he was definitely able to ride the dragon, and end result was a dragon jacking.
Yeah. Well, and so what's the name of this dragon? I meant to write it down. I forgot. Vhagar. Thank you.
Vhagar.
The second oldest dragon, right?
Yeah, it's a female.
The biggest dragon since Valerian. Right. So this dragon's a hoss. I think Charlie compared it to a B-52 bomber. Right. It's big and slow, but it's got a lot of power to it. And
it's like almost twice the size of the other ones.
Yeah, Baba, we'll kick it to you and get your thoughts on this scene. And then
I mean, honestly, like I thought it all looked good, and it was the part of the Game of Thrones vibe, actiony moment that I wanted, because I do feel like this episode was more of a dramatic episode than the other episodes so far. Mm-hmm. So once he got on the dragon, not only was it very satisfying, but they did leave you some time for him to spend on the dragon and fly around for a minute. And, like Vince was saying, it looked really badass. And then the dragon flying real close to the water and all that shit was good. I don't know. I kind of would have liked a little bit more of a like struggle. Maybe the dragon does some attack modes a couple times, and then Aemon's able to like sort of get away from the attacks a little bit. And then being like starts communicating and look, let me do this, maybe a little bit more convincing to the dragon, but it just sort of happened like boom, boom, boom. This is how it is now. Let's have him fly. And I understand they need to tell this story, but that's part of why I felt like this episode was just, there was just so many major things thrown at you that it was just, for me, exposition's a big deal for me to care about what's going on. And it was a lot of fast exposition.
Excuse me. I hated this scene. I'm kind of with Bobby, not for the reasons he has. I think to fix this scene, all they had to do last episode when excuse me, when he didn't have a dragon, all they had to do is say something like, well, if a dragon's meant to be, if it's meant to be a dragon, you can get a dragon that's already alive. It doesn't have to be hatchling, and you'll know when you see the dragon, and they have a moment where they stare at each other, so they don't have to do something like that. They could have fixed it. I didn't like him walking up to the dragon at nighttime.
That would have been perfect.
Like, oh, listen to me, you're the biggest, oldest dragon. I'm this little kid who can't do anything in life right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and claim you. So I thought it was corny how they set it up, and I agree with him. It was very season 8. It was season 8 when Jon got on his dragon. In season 8, when he first rode the dragon in season 8, I hated that scene as well. It just seemed stupid, it seemed cheesy, it seemed rushed. That's my opinion. I
think one of the things that they're trying to show with that scene was how big Vhagar is, and what a catch this is for Team Allison.
They showed it last episode when Damon was flying his dragon and she was flying Vhagar. And Vhagar was way bigger than his.
Yeah, I know, but I think what he's trying to say is now that it balances out the power a little bit between the houses, because now they got the biggest dragon, right? I feel that. But for the most part, I agree with Ian Bobo for the most part, right? I'm right there with you. I did like how Vhagar basically took him on a ride. Like, all right, you want me? You better hold on for your horses, and then if you can hold on, maybe I'll let you accept me.
Well, the fact that it was over with as soon as he let him ride it, she let him ride him. It was over. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Yeah. So you're right. Like I at the same time, I was like, that scene happened a little too quickly, but it does lead to a nice scene afterwards. I'm going to bring up a little bit of a picture here to talk about this next scene, because we all remember this famous scene.
Yeah. Shoot your eye out.
Yeah, that's why I call this part of the episode. So, Aemon
he's a little bitch. He deserves to get his ass slit out.
Aemon steals a dragon. Laena's kids notice and wake up Rhaenyra's kids, and when he lands, they go to confront him. And once again, we get the duality of Aemon here, because earlier he seemed tender. Well, now he's vicious. Now he's like, y'all laughed at me for not having a dragon. I got the dragon now. What's up? They're like, that dragon was supposed to be mine. It belonged to my mom. I was going to bond with it. He's like, well, too late. Too bad. Too sad. And then they try to attack him, and he beats them down. He even grabs a rock to beat them down. And because he's grabbing a rock to beat them down, Jaehaerys eventually draws his blade and cuts out Aemon's eye. And then they get broken up by the knights, and we get the final scene, which is the PTA meeting from hell. But That's when we get the mothers that come in and everything hits a crescendo. So we'll kind of hit it all up to kind of save some time. We get to that last scene where everything finally explodes between Rhaenyra and Alicent, because now their kids are involved. Their motherly instincts kick in. Alicent decides to go for broke and decides that she's going to make her stand and out Rhaenyra right now as being treasonous and having an affair. And then Rhaenyra decides, well, you know what? I might as well go for broke too and accuse Alicent of spreading rumors that my kids are bastards and calling her treasonous for that. And knives get drawn again. Blood gets drawn. And the sides are now fully established. The greens and blacks are fully established. Guys, give me your thoughts on this last part of the episode. E, we'll start with you.
Well, man, I think that Aemon, he pulled a Jack Wu because he's a prince and the kids had a right to be mad. That was very disrespectful what he did, and he got his eyes sliced out. And, that's just my quick thoughts on that aspect of it. I'll let everyone else go real quick, and then I'll come back and follow up with what my thoughts were on the actual the PTA meeting, as you called it. But I'll be right back. I'm going to drop off for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, Baba, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with him as well, man, as far as like that was a stupid move. He shouldn't have just expected everybody to be, he basically walks back in like Daemon, he has the same attitude and he's just like, oh yeah, that's right, I got a dragon. What are you going to do about it? It's like, dude, what do you think? This is just, you think everybody's going to be like, oh yeah, that's your dragon now? Cool. Yeah. There's going to be questions. It's going to be a little bit of a no, let's sit down and talk about this, whatever. And then now I do think that the girls threw the first punch, but that doesn't give him right to hit a girl.
Yo, them girls was feisty, right?
They were, but
they were not scared.
Feisty, dude. Little girls are always feisty. So I think that what would have been cool is for them to hold him back somehow, the boys, instead of fighting. But is it just me now?
Yeah,
okay,
it got
cool.
totally.
Yeah, but overall, I do think that it was a jack move for him, and because it's Game of Thrones, I wouldn't have said that he needs to get his eye cut out. He deserves it, but I love that it happened.
Okay, all right. Bobo's all about violence with children.
Oh, I just like Game of Thrones to hold up to the violence level, and that I like no one to be safe, and that's what I've always loved about Game of Thrones, and the fact that this little kid's eye got cut out, it's like, yeah, ain't nobody safe.
All right, V, let's let you get the last word in on this scene.
I had a couple of things, man, because one, up to this point, I thought Aemon was a little twerp, and I was sure he was going to bitch out, but I mean, he kind of got with him. It was 4-on-1, and he was kind of throwing kicks, everything, and was holding his own against all four of them. So from that standpoint, it kind of caught me off guard. And then if we're going to carry over into the next scene, what is we got these are the worst nights ever. I mean, these are the worst nights ever. So when the kids are fighting, the knights don't show up at all. I mean, you got this big thing go down, they don't show up. And then when the knife gets pulled out on Rhaenyra, how long did it take them to kind of pull them apart? These knights are shit.
I think what they're going with is like the knights are like, who are we supposed to stop? Because we're supposed to be loyal to both of them.
And
right?
They do kind of mention that. They do touch on, not mention it, but they allude to the knights being like, well, we've never dealt with prince against prince before.
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
Yeah, but they need to pull them apart or something, dude. I was like, these knights are shit, bro. Y'all don't know. I mean, we gonna see.
They're just not on the game. They're not preventative knights at all.
No,
They wait for stuff to go down before they jump in.
Yeah, these kids are prone to some violence, and then we get the PTA meeting, and of course we get Aemon gets put on the spot. We get the secret that comes out. Aemon stitches on his brother. I don't know how I feel about that. You immediately stitch it. That's a very little brother thing to do.
He took the lesser two evils, man, because that's why the mom looked so scared.
Yeah,
he thought he was going to say his name. He's like, I'm not going to sell you out, but I'll snitch on my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, and the brother's been mean to him anyways.
Yeah, and Aegon, this is where you really saw Aegon's true character. Aegon's so carefree. I know people don't like him, but he's so carefree. He's just like, look at these kids, man. You know, sitting there and I'm not playing this anymore. I'm done with this, man.
Everybody knows.
Yeah.
And I like that you said that everybody knows, because for me, I felt like that sort of changes things in the way the king views people's vision of him. You know what I mean? Like, unless he's just losing his mind and he's just
the king is on a cordless. He's on a cordless line. The king's like, look, everybody doesn't know anything. You can say it, but you guys can't prove it at this point. And if you can't prove it, it's treason. So say it.
He's mad though because he's shook because for the first time he's put on the spot and he's like, and she's like, everybody knows it, or Eamon's like, everybody knows it, and he's thinking to himself, shit. Like everybody does know it. Like how am I gonna?
That's what I'm saying. How does it affect the way?
And then finally he just like, finally he just says, you know what? F it. If anybody else says it again, I'm not gonna say you're right or wrong. I'm just gonna tell you this. Say it again, you get your tongue cut out. How about that? How you like that?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that he was put on the spot at all. I think he just sat back and said, okay, this is my son. I can't do anything to him, but let it be known if it's happening. If it comes out, look, dude, Allison was so scared in that scene.
Oh, for sure.
You can sit here and say like he was just being whatever. She did not want it to come out that she said it for a reason.
She's scared, but she's also pushing those buttons like a lot of time, like a lot of our girlfriends. She didn't push that button, She didn't push that button. She didn't push that button in her room. She definitely kept pressing though. She did not stop. She kept pressing.
In that moment right there, that was the golden opportunity for her to say something in front of everyone in the room, and she did not want her. She was looking at her kids like she's about to have a heart attack. She did not want her name to.
But didn't she say it a little bit later? She did try to say it later. She said something around. I mean, no. Because here's the thing, I thought, are we gonna end this with a little brouhaha? Because it seemed like, you're right, it seemed like she was gonna back off, and all of a sudden, she finds some courage again out of nowhere and decides, you know what, I'm gonna grab this knife from my husband's knife holder and go after his daughter and try to slice her up.
What's funny about the whole thing is she's like, Sir Kristen Cole, pull the knife down. The king's like, no, don't do it. She's like, you're sworn to protect me. I'm sitting thinking to myself, like, so?
What is he denies her too. Kristen the Cuck, for the first time he grows some balls, is like, I can't kill the prince.
He didn't grow any balls. He knew he was in a bad situation. You know what I'm saying?
She definitely. For a second, because again, the way the Game of Thrones works and the way people are never safe, for a second I thought that she was going to get banished or something because of her attacking. And I really thought that something crazy was going to go down from the king's decision making, or being like.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, being like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to banish you or something.
The three most gangster things in this scene, was first how Damon just sat back and watched them all rip each other apart in the back of the room. That was pretty hardcore. When Sir Kristen tried to help Allison, when she grabbed the knife and Damon walked up on him and was like, look, he beat Damon before, even though Damon was over there flexing for the crowd, like Anshul, you know what I'm saying, doing stuff like that. And then also,
when you're a flexer, you flex.
When Anshul, you got me saying your name now. But then also when Rhaenyra flipped Sir Kristen Cole's thing on her, and she was, messing with her, like, hey, look, she grabbed a knife and got her to admit, like I said last week, Vince agreed, but he always agrees with me when I'm right. Sometimes he just goes off the deep end, saying there's a couple shots. But she admitted that this whole time has nothing to do with honor and all this other stuff when you talked about earlier. It's never been about honor. It's that she got put in positions where she had to do things she had to do, and Rhaenyra does what she wants to do. Hey, what's that, Vince? Staring at the world through my rear view, Tupac? Real brothers do what they want to do. Bitch dudes do what they can do. You know what I'm saying? Tupac said it best.
I thought about you when she said that, because she exploded, and she's like, and from her perspective, it's like, I had to marry this old ass motherfucking king because my dad told me to. I did everything I was supposed to do, and you get to do whatever you want to do. And in her mind, once again, she's played to herself like, hey, I'm doing my duty, and you're shirking your responsibilities, and you just don't take anything seriously, and you're going to ruin this kingdom. The reality is, you're just jealous. You're just jealous, right? You're just a hater.
Yeah, I'm starting to hate her big time. I liked her in the beginning, and now I'm starting to hate her.
For sure. Also,
hold on. Have you talked to Anshul about this character before? You know what I'm saying? Have y'all talked about this?
No.
Man,
I try to say she's got some legs. So here's the thing. Gray went over here, rides for his Targaryens. He rides for his Targaryens like no other.
Hold up. Hey, Anshul, Bobby, and now the fans see you for who you are. You know what I'm saying? You let Anshul convince you again.
This is the first time Anshul and I have even talked about this show. I liked Allison at the beginning and the last couple episodes. I think it's clear that she's turned into
she's the villain of the story.
Yeah, she's turned into the one you hate. She's like the Disney villain.
Well, here's to drive it home, because we're going to go past an hour, but I don't want to go too much past an hour because I don't want to lose too much of our audience. But we still got to get some of the main parts of this last scene. Some of the important parts, because it seems like after this whole thing calms down, the king puts his foot down. It's like, all right, we're ending this right here. People try to argue with him. He's like, we're ending this right here. He has to repeat himself like 5 times, and finally he threatens to cut out people's tongues, and that ends the whole brouhaha. But clearly the sides are drawn, the greens and the blacks are established. Damon Rhaenyra calls in Laenor, and Laenor,
Bobby.
Bobby.
Before you jump to the next scene, I just want to say something about this scene. I want to get everyone's opinion. Do y'all think because she cut her, because we kind of glossed over the scene?
Oh yeah, you're right.
They called her and cut her. Shouldn't she have been killed immediately? You know what I'm saying? Because think about that. If that was Ned Stark, I have a feeling she would have been killed. If that was Tywin Lannister, I know she would have been killed. If that was Robert Baratheon, I'm pretty sure she would have got killed. She should have been killed right there. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
That's what my buddy and I were saying.
And then the next scene before Laenor, Otto comes in there because the son, because you're skipping it. Hey, mom was just like, hey, mom, don't worry about it. I got me a dragon. You know what I'm saying? It's a fair exchange. I got the baddest dragon on the block. You know what I'm saying? So they can have my eye. I got what they really want. This is what this is all about. And then the dad goes to her the next scene, and the dad's like, hey, you know what? He was right.
He was right.
You know what I'm saying? He's right.
10,000. What do you say? 1,000 eyes?
Yeah,
1,000 eyes.
For that, yeah.
Which actually goes to show you that he's the real villain of the story, because it just goes to show that he was never about the
Alicent is the villain. There he goes. There he goes, man. Come on, Shogun.
Otto. Yeah, I think we all know Otto's the mastermind. He's a little figure.
Between who?
I'd still say Alicent is the villain of the story, man.
We don't got enough time. We'll talk about it next time.
We got enough time, bro.
We're past an hour. We're past an hour, man.
You see how you guys are? Hey, that's okay. No.
We got more stuff we got to talk about, man.
10 toes down, Arshel. 10 toes down. You can't 10 toes down. You backing off from Vince. You ain't listen. See how he does me? Y'all see how he does me? Hey, no. You get your way. Now they see you for how you
are. Point for E. It wasn't even a showdown, but we're going to give E a point for that.
All right. We'll give him a little something because he's been mad because he's over showdowns. All right. So another thing I want to talk about that we get from this episode is the knife gets held against the fire, and Rhaenyra's looking at the knife because she realized the prophecy is being shown on that knife, but she's the only one that realizes it, which shows us that Viserys hasn't talked to anybody else about the prophecy. He's kept his words, like, this is between you and me. You are my heir, and because you're my heir, I'm telling you about this prophecy, and that proves I'm not going to choose anyone else. Nobody else sees that. Nobody else notices that, so that means he's kept his word, and he does have, in his mind, Rhaenyra is the true heir. I don't have any second thoughts about it, right? So we kind of get that from that scene as well. All right, then we get the Laenor and Rhaenyra scene, and I'd call this the AA meeting because Bobo and I talked about this. Bobo and I have had our battles with the alcohol, and anybody that's ever drank before has that intervention moment with their family where the family sits them down and they're like, you know what, guys, you're right. Listen, I've been messing up. I've been drinking too much. I'm gonna get. I promise you guys, I'm gonna get responsible. I'm not gonna start drinking anymore. I'm gonna start working out again, etc., etc. But they know damn well they're lying to themselves, and that's what I took away from this scene.
That next night you're out.
Yeah, the next night you're out taking shots at Tuwaka off some chick's
Rumplements.
You know, so that's what I got from this scene because Laenor tells Rhaenyra, he's like, listen, you're right. I haven't been a good husband. I haven't been there to support our sons, even though we all know they're not my son. But hey, I still need to support them. I do care for them, you know. And I promise I'm gonna be better. And I promise that I'm gonna be there for you.
I think this is the best example of foreshadowing that the show has ever done. The scene between these two, with those two reconciling. You know that they're a failed marriage. That he tried, but he couldn't get it done. And he wants to do everything to support her at the time. And then what unfolds at the end of the episode. I think it was a great, red herring to make you think one thing is going to happen and another thing happened.
What about you two?
Well,
we'll start with you.
Well, I thought it was a tender moment. I mean, they have a sham marriage for sure, but at the same time, I think that she does respect him to a certain extent. I know all evidence points to her not having it, but you saw in that moment that she actually does have some respect for him and what he's been able to accomplish or what he's tried to accomplish during their marriage.
What about you, Baba?
Yeah, I actually thought that it was again, Game of Thrones loves to pull the rug out from under you, but I thought that they didn't foreshadow the fact that he was going to die. I thought that they were showing that maybe they might try to do. I know nothing about the books, so
what did you say? Did you not get the end of the episode? I'm sorry, he didn't die.
Huh?
No, he knows. We talked about this. We talked about this.
Okay, yeah. That's what I mean by foreshadowing.
No, I'm saying that they didn't foreshadow. I felt it made it seem like that they were doing good, you know, and then all of a sudden.
Okay, yeah.
I just when she said you have a good heart and all this stuff, and so at the very end when she's with Damon, and then they're hooking up, and she says, "Well, for us to do that, he'd have to be dead."
Yeah. So that's but the foreshadowing was that. So he's like,
I'm talking about when they were together and he was apologizing to her about. I'm saying during that whole scene, I was believing that she was okay with him.
Yeah, they were gonna try and make it work together.
And that's why I say it's great foreshadowing, because you saw the reconciliation, and then he's like, "I'm ready to step up and do whatever it needs to be done." Then it goes to her and Damon, and she's like, "Hey, for this to work out, he has to die." But she's like, "I like him. He has a good heart." And you can tell Damon likes him too. So when they pull their little magic trick at the end of it, basically what they foreshadowed was, "Hey, I'm willing to do whatever you need me to do for you to move forward greatly." So what they did was they sent him off on a ship somewhere else, faked his death, and then when they did that, you know what I'm saying, that scene foreshadowed that he was willing to be in on that whole scam to fake his death and for him to go off somewhere else.
Well, to me it was like.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I guess what I'm saying is that I didn't see the foreshadowing.
No, I didn't see it until it happened. When I saw him on the ship and he snuck away, I was like, "Oh, that's what that was all about."
That's one of my favorite endings of this season for sure. Like, this episode might not stood on par with some of the other episodes, but that end was fire.
It was a great cliffhanger to make you be like pumped up.
Yeah, because like you said, you think that he's going to be trying to be on the level, he's going to try to be better. And I'm like, hey, are we going to see a more united House Targaryen now? And then all of a sudden we get her and Daemon, and then it's like, whoa, is Rhaenyra stepping up and becoming more cold-blooded? You know, is she developing that cold nature that sometimes rulers need to have? The Game of Thrones has established that you sometimes need to have to be a good ruler. And then all of a sudden we get that great twist where it looks like they're about to kill off Laenor all the way up until the end, when you see him sneak on that boat with his lover, who we think up until then has killed him. And you find he shaved off his head, and it's like almost like I can see the rest of that conversation playing out where he's like, "I promise, I'm going to stick with our marriage. I'm going to exile my lover, and I'm going to do better." And Rhaenyra's like, "Yeah, or we could just fake your death, and you can go do whatever you want to, and just let me and David take over." And he's like, "Oh, all right, yeah, shit, let's do that then. Yeah, we're straight up." Yeah.
She said, "Hey, Lenore, do you like oranges? Tell you what, I heard that you can sail around and get oranges and stuff like that."
Yeah, like, listen, you've been working hard, fam. You know what? Don't even worry about it. David and I will get this unlocked. You go take a nice little vacation. We know you don't want this anyway. Go fight your little sword battles, and then go have fun. And he straight up flipped his switch quick.
What do you think about the twist, Vince?
They got me. Usually, when I'm watching Game of Thrones, I know when something's about to happen. That twist completely got me, because when they were having that, what Bobby said, a tender moment a little bit earlier, my thought was, oh, this dude is about to die. So then the very next scene, you see them talking and planning his death, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense right there. And they got me, man. I was completely shocked at the ending.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the actor was so happy not to have to wear that wig for that last scene. you know when he was rolling, he had that smile, and that smile was real, because he was like, "God damn, I got rid of that stupid ass wig finally."
Yeah. No. So how much of it do you think is wigs and not wigs?
I thought it was a wig. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think they're all wigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain those are wigs.
Yeah. It's hard for me to tell, to be honest. I don't know. So I think that Hollywood does a good job, because like when I saw Matt Smith on the Today Show the other day, he had like hair down to his shoulders, but it was dark.
Put it this way, Amelia Clark wore it the whole time.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, she did. Well, let's wrap this up. First of all, I want to once again thank Brass Reel Bobby for showing up here. Bobo,
thanks for having me, guys.
Brass Reel Bobby.
Bobo is a burgeoning director. He's got a horror movie that is going to be dropping soon in a film festival, and we are in that season for horror movies. So, Bobo, I want you to take a minute to plug that movie. And let us know what's going on with you and your channel.
Late Court. It's you can watch the trailer on my channel right now on Brass Reel Brothers, but it's a short film that my buddy, my partner, my business partner, Andrew Worley, he wrote the screenplay. We co-wrote the story. I directed it. I edited. I did the score to it, and we actually spent money on it, because one of our other partners in our production company has some interest in helping us financially. So it's me and Andrew as the creative partners, and we have a partner who's our financial partner. So we were able to spend legitimate money on lighting and camera and cameraman that knew what he was doing. And we had, the whole thing, we had paid the actors, we paid for food, we paid for production assistants, script supervisors, all that stuff. So I'm really happy with it. And hopefully it, gets some sort of buzz and gets accepted in some sort of festivals around here. But that's sort of a year-long venture. You kind of have, it's like once you enter the festival season, you sort of have a year before people are not interested in that movie anymore. So wish us luck, Lake Court, and check out the channel or check out the trailer on my channel, Brassfield Brothers.
Awesome. Of course, I'll be joining Bobo and Brassfield Brothers on Thursdays to talk She-Hulk. We only got 2 more of those awful episodes left to watch, but I'm sure we'll be hooking up again and doing more stuff together. Also, make sure to catch us, guys.
And I'll give you a shout out.
Exactly. Thank you. We'll be doing more stuff on this channel. We're aiming for Wednesdays or Thursdays to start doing some movie news together.
Wednesdays.
We'll shoot it on Wednesdays. We don't know exactly when we'll release, but probably Wednesdays or Thursdays. And we're going to definitely start upping the content on this channel. We got a lot of good stuff coming your way. We'll keep you abreast. So if you want to find out what's going on with this channel, the easiest way to do that, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. You can follow us as well. Follow us on, of course, the Instagram and Twitter handles, Shogun of Cinema. And of course, our YouTube channel is there as well. So go ahead and hop on board. And next time we do one of these, hop on the comments section, shoot some comments. We'd love to hear from all of you. Bobo, we hope to have you back in future episodes. And V and Aaron, thanks again for all that you do. So until next time, y'all, peace.
Peace. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.